Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is another 2021 list. And if you're like, it's 2023, don't you mean a 2022 list, or even a 2023 list for that matter? No, it's another 2021 list. I'm doing 5 of these for all of you who are sick of seeing 2022, sick of seeing the same games again and again. Of course, I know you already watched my top 100, so we already got all of those. If you want, here's 5 lists from 2021. Specifically, there's going to be the best 15 games from 2021. There's going to be 15 21 titles that disappointed me to a degree. There's going to be 15 2021 titles that in some way faded a bit from how high I held them. There's going to be 15 2021 hidden gems, and then this particular list, which is 15 2021 titles that I didn't get played. And I still want to. And we're going to start off the bat with the very first one, number 15 on the list, which is going to be Dinosaur World. Dinosaur World from Pandasaurus Games is one that I am excited for. I do want to play this. I have it. I need to get it tabled, but it's one that I'm less excited for. And this list is ranked, by the way, in order of least excited to most excited to actually play it, or desire, excitement, whatever combination of those you want to choose. But Dinosaur World in particular is a little lower down on my list, specifically because of the fact that so many people compare it to Dinosaur Island, and for most of those people, it seems that Dinosaur Island is the one that comes out on top. And speaking as someone who has already played Dinosaur Island and found it to be a game that I enjoyed but didn't feel the need to keep, I'm a little bit more skeptical as to whether Dinosaur World is one that's going to last in my collection. Ultimately, I don't know if that's enough for this to be one that I hold on to when Dinosaur Island itself wasn't enough for me to hold on to. I'm still going to play it. I still plan it. I mean, I have it after all. I will get it tabled. I just don't know if it's one that's going to stick around. A good game or not, I try to keep games that are the absolute best for me, and Again, I played Dinosaur Island. That's where my hesitancy comes in. The game looks great. I want to like it. There's so much about it. The general idea of building up a park, of having those guests, of making sure no one gets eaten, of making sure you visit all the locations, all of it seems up my alley to a degree, but the original seemed up my alley too, and it didn't quite as much work for me. At number 14, we have Solomon Kane. Solomon Kane from Mythic Games is one, and I think has recently been sold off to Monolith, if I'm not mistaken. But Solomon Kane is a dungeon crawling adventure that in general has gotten lots of positive reviews on the game. The game is a dungeon crawl. It's going to be having your characters. It's a campaign game. You're going to be going through a whole bunch of missions, trying to figure out who to kill, how to go through all of that in the game. Overall, it's one that very much seems like the kind of game I'd enjoy, and the reason it's lower down this list is only because of the fact that it is a campaign game, and those to me have a higher degree of how much I need to like them for me to engage in them. That said, Solomon Kane is rated like an 8 on Board Game Geek. It is incredibly well liked so far from people who have played it, and it's one that I definitely do want to table. It's one I'm definitely excited for. I just don't know ultimately whether it will or won't get played quite as much. I do want to play it. I don't have a copy. I believe I actually have a patron, if I'm not mistaken, who at some point I'm supposed to be sitting down and tabling the game with in some way, so we'll see if that happens. I definitely like trying all these things. Whether or not it captures my attention in the plethora of campaign games that I both love already and want to play, that ultimately time will tell. But Solomon Kane is my number 14. At number 13, we have one that is lower rated, which is why it's down low here, despite being the kind of game that is my type, which is Explorers from Phil Walker Harding. Explorers is a roll and write game. It's one in which you're going to be jotting down onto a board little X's for some intents or purposes. I don't actually know the reason you're doing all of that. What I do know is that Explorers is one that I very much want to table just because of the roll and write genre, combined with the fact that it's Phil Walker Harding, and that to me does scream an accessible game that I can easily dive into that might be my type, but also it's rated a 7.1, which is why I'm a drop more hesitant on whether I actually will or won't like it. I have a lot of roll and writes in my collection. I have a good 10 that I currently own and I consider in my, grouping of roll and writes, but I know that there's like 20 more that I've played, thought were good, and moved on from, because there's only so many games in any particular genre you can have, and I like holding on to the best ones, the ones that really work for me, and a 7.1 is not inspiring, even while the art, the way the game looks, and the designer all are. At number 12, we have another kind of similar conversation around another Phil Walker Harding title, Llamaland. Now, this one specifically because of the fact that it does seem like a very Baron Park adjacent style gameplay. Baron Park famously designed by Phil Walker Harding, one of my favorite polyomino games, and the one that I constantly point to as being an accessible polyomino game, and Llamaland has a degree of multiple layers added onto it, multiple layers that are going to give you that polyomino feeling, but additionally as you're trying to build it up into more of an actual game on the table, which sounds appealing. Again, right now it's only the 7.4 on Board Game Geek that has me slightly hesitant on this one, but slightly hesitant doesn't mean I don't want to play it. I certainly want to play it. I certainly want to try it. Whether it holds up against Baron Park, ultimately time will tell on that one, and that's where I'm a little bit less confident as to how this one plays out. At number 11, we have one that I know the least about on this list. It's rated well, I think, if I recall correctly, like a 7.6 maybe. I don't know exactly, maybe 7.4. I don't know exactly. But this is one that's definitely been I'm definitely interested in this one from the keywords the game seems to give. This is going to be Living Forest. And Living Forest is one that I know arguably the least about on this list. There's a few games on this list that I don't know quite as much about, but I'm still interested in playing them. I'm still intrigued by them, and I still want them. And if nothing else, the general game, the general art, the cover of Living Forest that pulls you in, and the gameplay mechanics got push your luck. It has a degree of bag building or deck building. I don't know which one it has. One of those two. It's got a degree of racing elements, racing mechanics to it, and all of those things, to me, does make it seem like the kind of game that I might enjoy. How much will I enjoy it? Again, time will tell. It's hard to see with some of these games, but this is one that games that look good already have my interest. We shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and that's certainly true, but I don't judge the book by its cover. I get interested based on the cover, and then I try to find out more about it. The fact that the rating is already decent enough, the fact that the mechanics pull my attention, the cover is certainly what pulled me here. It's the rest of the stuff that has me still interested, and that's my number 10, I want to say. Or 11. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. That's my number 11. From there, I should probably put numbers next to these titles over here. From there, we move to my number 10, which is actually also lower rated. This is the Siege of Runedar from Reina Knizia, and it's 7.1 on Board Game Geek. Now, ratings are not everything, but to me, it's, again, the mechanics, the designer, the cover, all those things worked. Off the bat, the cover is the thing that started to pull me in, but then past that, if you look past that, I mean, just look at the gameplay presence on the table. This is a deck-building game as you try to fend off various people trying to attack you, and it both looks like it could potentially be a little messy as far as the gameplay, but it's from Reina Knizia. The cover looks great. The mechanics are up my alley. Siege of Runedar is one that I very much want to table. I believe that's Andrew Bosley, if I'm not mistaken. It's very much one that I've wanted to table since I first heard about it. The only thing having it lower on this list for me is the 7.1 on Board Game Geek, which frankly is not inspiring. Make no mistake, I have 7.1s in my collection that I love, but they are the exception. More often than not, a 7.1 is a game that I enjoy and am ready to move on from. Ratings, the general ratings do not mean that I will or won't like a game, but they are certainly a good indicator as to exactly where I am likely to end up. At number 9, we have one I've talked about before, and this is going to be Chronicles of Avel. This almost seems to be a next step up from a kid-friendly dungeon crawler, a game like, Cora Quest or Catacombs of Karak. This seems to be the next step up, taking almost a degree of Mage Knight, various light mechanics, and putting them into an accessible family dungeon crawler, which all in all, to me, just has me intrigued in the game. It's one that the gameplay itself, I don't know a ton about it past the genres it's trying to fit in and where it'll lie, but wandering around the map, trying to explore, trying to take down the baddies, trying to make sure you survive as they slowly march towards your castle and all that, it's definitely one that has me interested in it. And at the rating, I think it's like an 8.1 on Board Game Geek. I probably should stop talking about ratings. So the ratings are a factor. Ratings are absolutely a factor in my interest level in playing a game. And for the case of Chronicles of Avel, between the ratings, between people talking about it, I want to play this one. This is my number 9. My number 8 is going to be one that I have in my collection. We start moving back to some that I have in my collection. I have about half of these right now, and the other half I just want to get. But my number 8 is Bitoku, which I haven't played yet from Devir Games, and Devir Games in general have been doing absolutely amazing things for my collection. I have liked most of their games that they've put out. Not every single one, mind you, but most of the games they have put out over the past year have been winners for me. They've done well. They put out good games that are very much to my taste. And in the case of Bitoku, the only thing holding me back, and I've actually read the rules. I know how to play this game in theory. I say in theory because look at that board over there. There's a lot going on that board. It looks both compelling and intimidating all at the same time, and it is both compelling and intimidating. I've learned how to play, and I feel that I need to dive into the rulebook again before I can realistically table this game. It's a question of who I'm tabling it, when I'm tabling it. I want to... It's up there. That's I'm like glancing towards there. I want to table this one. It's overdue. This is Bitoku. It's my number 8. From there, we have, for my number 7, we have Wonderbook. Another one that I don't know quite as much about, but this did win the Spiel des Jahres, if I'm not mistaken. And Wonderbook is a pop-up book production. You're going to have this pop-up book across, I believe, 6 scenarios, if I'm not mistaken, going through some degree of cooperative adventure. That's as far as I know. I don't know more about it quite yet. I know that it interests me. I know that it won the Spiel des Jahres. I know that I believe it has a 7.8 rating, if I'm not mistaken. Again, sorry for the ratings. But overall, Wonderbook is one that I'm definitely interested in without knowing a ton about the gameplay. It's a drop before Bitoku only because, I don't know, I've heard lots of good things about this game. I think I maybe should rearrange. I think Bitoku should be before Wonderbook. But Wonderbook definitely is higher on the list. I think the only thing having it limited a bit is I don't know enough about the gameplay, but I know I've heard people say good things, and that definitely is, well, an aspect. At my number 7, we have another one that I don't know a ton about, but I do know it's currently on the way as we speak, and that is going to be Witchstone. Witchstone is one that caught my attention as Jeremy Howard was talking about it extensively. It's one that, I mean, the gameplay, the board in general just looks amazing as far as what's going on. It draws you in visually as far as whatever it is that's happening on that board. And Witchstone is, it looks cool. Do I know anything about that? No. Do I know Jeremy Howard raved about it? Yes, he seemed to rave about it. Do I have it on my way as a result? Yes. Will I table it as soon as I possibly can? Maybe. Ultimately, time will tell on that one. But that's Witchstone. Again, it's one of the ones that I don't know quite as much about. There are a few more. Well, this next one is actually one more that I also don't, but Witchstone. Definitely still interested in my number 6. At number 5, we have one that the only thing I really need to know about it is the fact that it's about coffee, and that's Coffee Traders from Capstone Games. Coffee Traders I've been talking about, I want to say, for 2 years now, since I first heard it was coming out. And the fact that it's a Capstone Games, fairly heavy game about coffee, that is well rated. Again, a 7.8 over here, that is plenty for me. And in particular, when it comes to a game about coffee that's well rated, that's a heavy euro, that looks like this one does. I mean, look at that board, look at the coffee too. It's a beautiful shot right there. But overall, this is... It pulls me in. I don't know if it'll be for me. I do know I like heavy games, not all heavy games, and I do know I'm certainly biased towards it because of the fact that it is coffee themed. I remember a long time ago I tried getting my hands on a game called Viva Java, or I should say I had my hands on a game called Viva Java, and then I had the dice game. Dice game wasn't particularly good. The big box game I never got played because I played best with like 7 players, which just wasn't going to happen for my group. Coffee Traders has been well rated, generally speaking. It's about one of my favorite things. Coffee. It is one of my favorite things. A board game. It's from Capstone Games, who put out amazing games. All of that is plenty of reason for that to be my number 5. And my number 4 instead is from Portal Games, and that's going to be Brazil Imperial. Now this one is fairly high up, despite the fact that I'm not confident if it is one that will or won't work for me. You see, I've heard comparisons to Scythe for this one, and Scythe is a game that, well, frankly, didn't work for me. I enjoyed Scythe, make no mistake, and Brazil looks gorgeous. Just the table presence of it looks gorgeous. The cover art looks gorgeous. Everything about Brazil looks gorgeous. But whether it will or won't work for me is a different conversation, especially when it's being compared to Scythe. Now, I've read most of the rules. I have like 2 pages left in the rulebook. I've read most of the rules. We almost tabled it like a month ago, but the problem is I need a good player group for this. This is not going to be a 2-player experience. I need a good group of people, ideally 4, but even 3 will manage as far as getting this one tabled. I own this one. Coffee Traders I own. Witchstone I have on the way. Brazil Imperial I own. I want to get this game played. I don't know when it'll happen because of the 3 to 4 players. Not that I get 4 players all the time, but usually we play the games we already love. 3 players is already more easy to get this one tabled. We'll see. It'll happen. Probably. Maybe. At some point. I hope. At my number 4, my number 3, that's not true. At my number 3, we go back to coffee with Seize the Bean. Another one that I own, and one that I actually have fully read through the rules, and am mostly prepared to play it. If I quickly refresh myself on the rules today, maybe I can get a play tonight. I'm going to try to play Seize the Bean tonight. To be clear, Seize the Bean tonight, if it actually happens, is in your past, so you'll know at some point whether I play this. But Seize the Bean. Seize the Bean just looks... It looks absolutely charming. This was a Kickstarter game that did take quite some time to deliver. The components are beautiful. The setup is beautiful. Everything feels premium. The art just looks amazing. It's all about running your own little, like, deluxe little, what's the word for it? There's a word when you're running a cafe that's, like, very unique and not, like, mass market, but I can't think of that word. But it's a word. There's a word there about how quaint and cute your little coffee store is as you try to figure out how to get as much money as possible and build things up and improve your store. And then there's, like, a ton of modules of different ways to mix things in that will give the game a ton of variability. Rated decently, and it's about coffee, and it's a little lighter than Coffee Traders, which is why I'm more interested in this one, only because I think it is easier to table. Coffee Traders, I haven't read the rules at all. I don't know how to play it at all. Sure, I own it, but I don't know how to play it. Versus Seize the Bean, I actually think I might be able to table it tonight. We'll see. We'll find out. I'll pin a comment to this video if I remember that I played this game or didn't play this game by the time you watch this one. That's the number 3, Seize the Bean. And number 2, we have one that, well, I want to play it, which I guess that's the entire list, so it's not really a question. But number 2 is going to be Titans. Titans is from, oh my gosh, I'm blanking the name. They did The Witcher. They did, what's the name again? I can't remember the name offhand. But Titans from Lucas Wozniak, but I don't remember the name of the company. Ah, my gosh, it's going to bother me, but we'll deal with that part later. But Titans is a game that is an area control game, which is why it's very high up for me. This is very much my genre as far as games go. It's very much the type of game that I think I will enjoy because of the area control nature of it, because I've heard good reviews for it overall. And it's one that I like area control. I've read the rules for this. I'm prepared to play it. I know the whole system as far as how everything plays out in the game. I have all the expansions for it. I got an all-in pledge. I'm just very, very interested in it, in actually getting this one tabled. This is Titans from the company whose name I'm completely blanking on, which bothers me so much. Give me a second. Let me see if I can remember it. Titans, from the same company that did The Witcher. This is going to bother me so much. I mean, there's 14 of you in the comments down below who know exactly what I'm talking about, and I can't get this. Go on board. Go on board. I did it. Phew. Sorry, this stuff bothers me. It bothers me when I don't remember the name of a company. Go on board. Titans, my number 2. And my number one actually kind of surprised me over here. My number one is one that I kind of bought just because it was on sale, and I was like, I should probably eventually play that given my proclivity to certain styles of games. And it's still in shrink, but I really do want to table it. I just don't know when. Right now, I'm kind of holding on to it to maybe play over on Camp Co-op. Camp Co-op being a side channel, I'll link to that down below. It's always linked down below. Camp Co-op being a side channel where I play through campaign games. So the problem with that is it means that sometimes covering a game on Board Game Co, I have 5 reviews up a week. Covering a campaign game over on Camp Co-op, we do like, 2 or 3 at a time, but it can take months before we move on to the next one. And so Descent Legends of the Dark is one that is my number one pick for 2021 titles that I have not gotten tabled, that I want to table, that I should table, and maybe I'll justify it by setting it up and just getting a game in off the bat. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I really, really want to get Descent Legends of the Dark played. Again, it surprised me that this is number one for me, but ultimately, the combination of the continued reviews for this game that seem to indicate that people like it, despite the fact that, honestly, the visual presence does not do it at all for me. That little thing there, it doesn't do it at all for me. Compared to some of the games we've seen over here already just in this video, this Descent does not look visually compelling. The cover, sure. The components, doesn't do it for me in the slightest, but the gameplay is ultimately king. Gameplay is the thing that's going to matter for me, and this game is well liked by many people, which means I have it, and I should probably unbox it. Maybe I'll unbox it today. I won't play it today, but at least I can unbox it today. I'm going to unbox Descent today. Maybe. I should do that. Yes, I'm going to try to do that. That is the first step towards actually playing a game, taking it out of its box and shrink and all that stuff. So maybe I'll try to do that today. I'll pin down in the comment down below whether I played Seize the Bean and whether I unboxed Descent Legends of the Dark, but ultimately we'll see how those go. The rest of these, I don't know. That's where this list ends. That's where the list ends. It ends with Descent Legends of the Dark, my number one pick for 2021 as far as the titles that I want to play. Not that I have played, just so you understand that. The games I most want to play. These are 2021 titles that I have not gotten tabled, that are still... Haunt is probably a strong word. That probably indicates more of a mental presence than these have. But I would say a whole bunch of these I want to play. There's some from the lighter ones like Llamaland, Explorers, and from, Seize the Bean, all the way up to games like Descent and Coffee Traders and who knows what. There are a lot of titles here that capture my interest and attention, and I haven't gotten tabled, and you don't need to play everything. You certainly don't. But I do try to play as many as I possibly can. In any case, we're going to call that a wraps on this list. Again, there are 4 other lists from 2021 games. I'll link to them down below as much as I can remember, but I don't know the order that these will go up in, so some of them may not have gone up yet. But with that, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what 2021 title you missed out on that you've been craving to play. And with that, and until next time, I hope you have a good one.